Easy enough. All right.
We're live.
Oh, we are we are live, man. Oh man, guys, what's going on? Another macro perspective episode here. Just had to get my wits about me. But what we're going to talk about today is the GLP-1 agonists, or the main ones: Ozempic, Wegovy, Mounjaro, semaglutide, tirzepatide. It's made its rounds definitely in the news now. Weight Watchers. All these big companies are using it, and it's become, just to be quite honest, it's been the big thing on health. I think this is the biggest thing on health since, I don't know, insanity, since
Fen-phen?
2000, since
Something we
what?
don't even know about.
Yeah, exactly. Like, um, I wanted to bring this episode up. I think Marcos, and we work closely with a lot of our patient and clientele. I don't know the exact percentage, but I'll be honest with you, the percentage is up there in terms of how many people we work with to get people on this because of obesity, diabetes, or kind of just health relations to body composition, right, Marco? So,
Yep.
you know, my question is, like, this isn't a hit piece on semaglutide or tirzepatide or any of the brands. It's actually more so what we've seen in the last 6 months since we've talked about it last, and over the last year and a half of maybe bringing this into our day-to-day practice. Like, what have you been seeing with it now that you've had some time to work with it?
I've seen that health coaching matters a hell of a lot more than ever before, and I will stand behind that. As we tried to do an apricot, that was the name of the company. We tried to do a spinoff, an adjunct of our current organization that we both work with patient care. Um, we quickly, or at least I quickly realized that even before these patients were going to be getting the delivery of that actual, um, you know, GLP-1 agonist, they were in such a different place mentally. They really felt like nothing had worked for them before. And then like the fact that like I had to be there to service like the initial in like, here's what's going to happen. Here's what's going on. Here's how you can really reach your goals in in a shorter time frame. Um, it's like, I'm trying again, like I was leaning into the fact about the excitement of getting that thing. And like, I don't know if it was dopaminergic or what, but like people are like, you mean to tell me I'm gonna feel more full? And it's like, yeah, like even with eating this way, you'll feel more full. And they're like, no one ever sat down to tell me about this. And so, you know, right now, the reason why people are putting it into news articles and, blah, 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 here's a cheaper alternative. And, oh, technically you could probably go get this stuff in a gray area market. Don't quote me on that, but it's true. But then again, you don't know what you're getting, right? Like it's just, it's, it, it's kind of annoying, right? It's annoying knowing kind of like the pitfalls of this thing, what people might try to go to seek out a substantial lifestyle change. But the most recent article that our producer sent us was the cheaper weight loss alternative riding the Ozempic
Berberine.
wave. Berberine.
Yeah.
It doesn't even work on that mechanism. I mean, like this
It's not.
article is actually full of shit because, I mean,
I
Berberine
wrote an
might
article on
have.
Berberine. I
Yeah,
wrote an
okay,
article on
well,
Berberine, and
it has
I
like a,
literally
a
was
it has
like,
like a very like it doesn't have a notable effect close to according to clinical research. It has like a maybe like a mildly significant, right? Like it's like
it like so. Just to give you guys some stats, like Berberine is not a GLP-1 agonist; it's a supplement, and there's only, I think, the two examples of studies that I read that were like really good was over a 12-week period, and people
mhm.
lost 3 to 6 pounds of fat, or about 2 to 4% body fat. Like that was like the average. Guys, when you look at GLP-1 agonists, like the studies shatter up to almost like 27% body fat coming off, or like 27% of the weight coming off, with it being 18 to 22% body fat. It's just, and it's two totally different mechanisms. Berberine is a supplement. You can get it in capsule. You can even get it in food or something like that. And I was like,
Yeah.
I had to tell the news article person, I was like, you're trying to spin this, because that's this same article here is like kind of what they were trying to do with another article station, and they're trying to spin it as like, this is the opposite, the nature's Ozempic, and it's like, they're not the same thing.
Mhm.
You gotta know the difference. I had to tell them that.
Well, Okay, so I went to examine.com really quick. So everybody listening, examine.com is like your number one stop shop about, again, them giving unbiased reviews. They're not selling you anything except for like basically like them combing through research and helping you understand stuff based on clinical research. They say for blood glucose, they give it a grade of a B, right? Even though it, quote, shows a strong decrease of blood glucose in the participants. Okay, right? Also, it says for glycemic control, it's a C, a slight improvement. B and C. What's the number one thing, Seamus, that can actually improve blood glucose and glycemic control that most people won't spend the time doing, if we're being quite frank with people?
Honestly, we could even make it as simple as a walk.
That's it. Okay. Movement. Oh my God. Eat a meal and go for a walk. How hard is that? Hey, I know it sounds like, again, I poo-pooed it. Guys, listen, I was like you. I'm like, if you're not exercising, you're not going to see like improvements in this, metabolic health. But then time and time again, walking for the win. The thing that doesn't cost you anything but your time. So again, if you only get 30 minutes for lunch, maybe you need to spend the first 10 to 15 eating, and that's you cutting yourself off. Oh, I'm a slow eater. Okay, cool. That's where you cap yourself, and then go for 15 minutes of movement to get better glucose control. You'll probably see a
Yeah.
far better effect on those outcomes, right? And you probably will see a little bit of weight loss too, because you're creating a little bit more of a control on your eating habits. I mean, Seamus says to his clients, like, eat with your left hand if you're, again, like on vacation, or um,
Going out.
size it up with like your hand and your palm, so you can have some form of info of what you're about to consume. And sure enough, right? Like, man. So again, like, not to, this is us shitting us on the article saying like you can buy this supplement, right? And again, kind of clickbait because everybody's interested of like knowing what the other thing is. And then here you go, right? Watch this. If you listen to this, go to Examine. I'm not full of shit. Like, th- these things are here for you. And again, don't get the first article that pops up inside of like Apple News or on Google
Yeah.
News. Spend a little extra time doing it. You're doing a little research yourself.
Yeah, yeah. And to
But
kind of continue on like what you're talking about,
yeah,
like the health coaching aspect, like that's really what we're trying to see here is like what we've seen is we look. I've been in those conversations with my physicians and many physicians, like, hey, based off of the questionnaire, based off their lifestyle, like, do you think it would be a good call to jump on some semaglutide? Like, do you think like, and they're asking me, I'm not the doc, but because as a health and wellness professional, you kind of just go like, obviously, we want them to work on the lifestyle things like fitness, nutrition, and sleep and stress management and all the good stuff, right? But just being honest, like there are some people that just the percentages has gotten higher. Just that it's just when there is a bit of a clutch, and I'm just being honest, there is a bit of a crutch. It's not for me to say, it's not for me to bias like my personal beliefs for someone else's success, right? That's the real thing. Like for me, I'm a scientist. Like I'm not a person that's talking about ethics and morals. Like I'm just trying to give this person the best that they can do. So if a doc says, "Hey, do you think it might be good to get them on it for some time with their lifestyle, the way they talk about food, the way they have these different craving pathways?" Like I'm like, you know what? It might be best to give it a shot, and I will definitely work my best with them on fitness, nutrition, and lifestyle, right? And
mhm.
what I've noticed is it has helped a lot of people. Again, I try not to make it a crutch for a lot of people because what happens is, and a lot of performance health coaches that we work with in the space as well, they get pissed because, yes, some people they lose a lot of weight, but guess what comes with that weight loss? A lot of muscle atrophy, right? You can get someone on a DEXA scan and it's like, hey, this person lost 60 pounds, but 30 pounds of it was was muscle. Did we win? Did we win? Well, on the weight loss account, we won, right, Marcos? But on the metabolism account, we lost. So that's where like
Yeah.
we have to come in and go like, well, what about your protein intake? How is your resistance training? How is your sleep? And it's like that's why even though this can be the answer for some people for a lot of stuff, there's still 10 different things that this person needs to do to make sure they're at least in a better place, not worse for it, right? Not worse for it.
Yeah, you're it's it's definitely, again, where if the goal is improving a lot of the, initial concerns of body weight, and then you do get some benefits of that cardiovascular health and cardiometabolic responses being better in those panels, right? Again, our doctors will be happy, and that's great, and I agree. Like, and also, like, again, I know for some of our coaches talking about seeing so much loss of muscle, but again, too, like, their frame was probably not really meant to carry as much, actually, because it was so inflated with body fat. It had to like, it was basically doing resistance training every day because of the
Probably, yeah.
weight. So, all right, cool, this person's frame is really maybe only meant to handle, we'll just say, 150 pounds of lean tissue, right? And it's getting closer to the actual, like, set point. Like, I mean, you've seen this time and time again. Like, when you start losing weight, you gain confidence. And when you gain confidence, you might be more motivated. More
Yeah.
motivation equals, more of the desire to challenge yourself. And then you can work on those other things in conjunction. So I've
Yeah.
actually changed my stance about, like, fat loss being the initial goal of people. I thought it was like educate to the food. But one of the patients I spoke with today, she's like, I'm just not excited about losing, like, about a pound a week. I was like, but you're still down. I was like, so I get it, and she's been logging her food. She's been working on, a lot of things that we talked about in the first, like, 4 weeks of working together. And she's happier. She's excited. She's actually like, hey, I'll take my dose up of the semaglutide or the Ozempic. Ask the
Yeah.
doctor for the permission that she could do so, based on, like, how her hunger responses are. And if she's telling me the truth, man, she's only averaging, like, about 11 to 1,200 calories per day right now. And
That's
I'm
the
like,
thing, right?
I'm like, I know, like, that's kind of, that's really low based on any female. It doesn't really matter. That's still low. Um, and but but if it leads to more motivation, and then she loses a little bit more quickly, and then I can again convince her that it wasn't the drug alone, but also the activity and the motivation that changed in 1 month, right? Again, I think we can win out. But it, again, just going, and I don't know what Weight Watchers is doing, but they do rely heavily on community. So hopefully those conversations are being had amongst their coaches, and it's not about, like, a numbers game. Because, I mean, we've seen this all before, right? Like, the numbers then become debilitating mentally when you can't keep on losing.
Yeah, yeah. I think you need to have a community of health professionals around you and people that you're doing this with, because, like, if you were listening to this and you decided I'm just going to shoot up Ozempic and just do it myself without the wherewithal of understanding, like, what things
Hmm.
will happen to you, like the side effects. And I'm not even talking about the side effects of, like, nausea, but like certain things will happen where you may not eat. You may not eat, because I've seen it. Like, people go OMAD, only one meal a day, or some people, like, they're so like dialed in that, like, yeah, they're not getting the energy. And, like, yeah, we've seen some great things, like alcohol cravings also come down. There's no necessarily scientific data on it yet, but how it works on, like, cue and craving pathways in the brain and the neurochemistry. But, like, I honestly think sometimes, like, I like it, but also I caution, because sometimes it is almost like an all or nothing mindset when you jump on that, right? Because if you're on it, you're almost like superhuman, you're super disciplined, you're super whatever. But then the moment you come off of it, right? Well, oh, you never
Mm.
worked on the habits. Oh, you never worked on the lifestyle change. Oh, you never worked on this. There wasn't anyone else there guiding you. What happens when you get off of it, right? And that's the danger. So, um, just definitely want to, like, keep that in place, keep that in check. Have a community like Weight Watchers, or have a community of health professionals on that, right?
Yeah. Question to you is, do we become more disordered as a result of these things having prevalence, in the sense that people become too skinny? We actually go the other way. What if we reverse the pendulum so far away from, like, again, skyrocketing obesity rates to then, like,
Mm-hmm.
malnourishment through medical intervention?
Ooh, honestly, that's a great, like, philosophical discussion of, like, if let's just say somehow Ozempic or semaglutide becomes, like, just
It's gonna get
like a
better. They're
multivitamin,
gonna
like a
make them better.
multivitamin, yeah, like
Yeah.
a multi that, like, we everyone could take. and it somehow solves the epidemic of obesity, diabetes, like type 2 and overweightness, can we go to the point where I can see it happening? And here's why. America already itself has more caloric food in terms of volume as
Mm-hmm.
compared to nutrient rich foods. So with that being said, time that with no uh times that with no, like, affinity to want to eat, and then you're just eating whatever quickly because, like, it's the one meal you have to have for the day, but it's not nutrient filled. I think you can have a nutrient-less country because we already have like a nutrient-less country, but we have an over caloric amount. So I can definitely
Mm.
see that. I can definitely see people being undernourished. You can look at their bones. You can look at their. I mean, I think if somehow, like, Brave New World, like Soma, the Soma, like, thing in Brave New World, like everyone has Ozempic, like that's a weird that's a weird philosophical debate right there.
Just
America
saying.
being overly thin.
And here's the thing, dude. Drugs tend to get better with every generation. Blood pressure medications used to have a ton of side effects, similar to what we're seeing now, versus, right, where we're at in like generation 8, where it's like it does that thing exceptionally well. It's very safe, very stable for a long period of time.
Yeah.
Again, we're on like generation 1, but then when we move to generation 7 and 8 and 9 and whatever, when they get better, I'm sure like in this next year, the next peptide that is doing the same thing, but far better, far quicker, less muscle wasting. Again, maybe it does that. Maybe they find a way to truly solve like a fat burner. Like,
It'd be
you
funny
know,
if they if pharmaceuticals. And honestly, it's nature versus, to be honest, it's nature versus like science, or like
mm,
human intervention, because human beings are great at being energy storage systems. We really are. In this
mm,
day and age, it doesn't work out though for the healthy side because we have too much energy and we don't do the same things that we did like hundreds of years ago, or even within the last 60 years, right? Um, so yeah, I wonder if everyone can have their hands on it with new generation, new peptides, new medications that are even better, and it becomes part of the norm. I mean, the side effects, if none, yeah. Dang, that's got me stumped, bro. That's got me stumped.
you weren't ready for it, Seamus. This is the stuff I think about and my thoughts about things. And it's like AI for nutrition coaching. Guess what? You no longer need us. But at the same time,
Boom.
what value do you actually get from a life that doesn't challenge you? Right? I mean, I get it. Solving one struggle is great, but it generally is to another one somewhere else. Everything has a pro and con list. I actually told this to one of my 20-year-old clients. I was like, I'm not a doctor. You need to go to a specialist, but from what I know, your LH looks a little suppressed, right? And it's affecting your endogenous production of testosterone, as. And he's like, well, what if I have to get on a drug for the rest of my life? I'm like, I don't know. I'm not the medical expert. I can just tell you, you need to go see this person. That's all they do. And the solution that this endocrinologist gave him was actually something I have never seen done in our practices because we're not usually dealing with 20-year-olds. And I was like, hmm, interesting. Kind of cool that I get to learn from this, coaching client that wants to gain weight. So again, the inverse problem to Ozempic, right? And find a place where we're all truly comfortable. And I think we should also put this caveat in there, Seamus. We're seeing this muscle wasting with the Ozempic treatment with people that are, again, I have to look at our stats, that are generally also getting testosterone therapy, right?
That's odd.
So odd, right? No, I mean, so you need a certain level of the essential macronutrients, which are protein and fats, people, so that your body can still do things endogenously appropriately for, again, health, right? So I wonder about that. I wonder if it goes too far the other way. Do these things get so good that everybody's taking them, right? what does it look like for the state of everybody when it comes to health? I think we'll all be far healthier if we don't have cravings, right? We notice people say their cravings of stuff is typically down with this stuff, which is great.
Cravings,
But
alcohol, things like
yeah,
that.
so I'm curious. I'm playing devil's advocate. I want to know what people think too. I mean, again, I have trouble personally losing body fat because I have a hard time sticking to not giving into my cravings, right? I'm human just like everybody else, right? Now, do I have a problem with too much body fat? Not necessarily. I think it could be better. I think it should be about 15% on average, and it's not. Um, but I don't know what it feels like to be probably much more than 25% when I was a little, chubby when we got pregnant, with our first kid. And truth be told, I don't really know. I lost a little bit of body fat going into like my first DEXA scan at like my peak weight. So
Mm.
I'm guesstimating there, but nonetheless, I know how it feels. I know the headspace. I know what it's like to not be comfortable in the skin, right?
Yeah,
But
yeah.
again, maybe it's not to the severity of somebody else that really feels stuck. But again, getting unstuck, that thing could be the catalyst. But do you have an exit strategy? Do you have a plan? Are these things that you've considered? Do you want to take a drug for the rest of your life? Because I know that that weighs on people, and I like don't philosophically I don't understand that because like again like if it can create a solution, where is that? Where is it titrated to be the most
Yeah,
the most effective, right? Because
yeah.
again like if you ramped it up to get the loss, can you ramp it down to maintain, right? And that's what
That
we're
makes
all about to learn.
sense. Yeah,
Yeah.
we're about to learn that. We're on the precipice. I mean, the next 12 months with next year's a lot of things, new things happening in the healthcare space. I mean, the question really is like, how hard can society course correct, right? Right? Like, we course correct so much that, like, do we just lose all sense of diversity? Do we just lose all
Mm.
sense of creativity? Um, I mean, I know people do that in their personal lives where, like, let's just use an example, a financial one. Like, oh, they grew up poor, so they course corrected so that they're always, financially free and wealthy. But with that being said, they course corrected so hard that they lost, like, their humanity of, like, spending time with their family. They're always working, right? That's just
Mm.
like not the best analogy and best example, but like that's an example of like what happens
Gosh,
if
this
America
struck a
gets
chord
so
with me.
fat. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Like if we get
Yeah.
so big, so fat that like how do we course correct? Are there no places like McDonald's anymore? Are there no fast food joints anymore? Like how far do we go down this fucking list? Sorry for the language, but
Yo, there's another good philosophical question. If America runs on capitalism and not Duncan, right? What happens to all these? What again? Like, what do we become consumers of if it's not food?
if we're not craving food and if we're not craving things, what is the business of food look like then? If everybody has, dude, that's a great question. If everyone has Ozempic, what does food look like? Is it just a freaking cube that gives you all your multi nutrients, and it's like it's a sci-fi world of like dystopia of like, oh, you get all your nutrients in this cube because you don't crave chewing a burger.
Soylent, Soylent Green, right? Whatever in 80s or 90s movie that was. But
So true.
these are these are the questions that I think about, and I'm just a ordinary health coach that's good at math, Um, and it it again like everything again, just like with AI, it's that you have to learn how to have a symbiotic relationship with it. So when it's like, oh, it's here to stay, and all my clients now just want the again, like quote the easy way out. It's like it still ain't easy because financially they got to work harder to afford the drug right now. Best believe that that's a huge sacrifice, right? And I mean, I think that the biggest thing here, going back to some of the news articles, was speaking specifically on insurances not covering it for people, which is a lot of ways people are going after it, is trying to get their insurance to pay for it. Everybody that we work with does not use their insurance at all to get this medication. They are paying out of pocket. Far different experience, right? Um, so again, that's another interesting one too, because like obviously, oh, how do you guys have so many patients using it? There's an out-of-pocket expense, and it's through a compounding pharmacy, and all those things. And again, like the price tag is still not really affordable to the average person, right?
Yeah.
But come again, like I'm thinking about like, dude, combating one issue leads to potentially so many others, right? Um, but
Yeah.
that's where I wonder again. You got to ramp it up. Can you ramp it down, right? How does it titrate? how do other businesses get affected? If people no longer have the urge to want to go buy food from the local mom and pop shop, how do people make a living? What if you are a restaurant owner and you get on this drug and you don't even, you don't like food anymore and you can't sample your product and you lose your passion for the thing that makes you money, right? Like for every benefit, there is likely some other quote side effect that we're not thinking of. So,
Dude, it honestly sounds like almost a suppression, bro. Honestly, it sounds literally Brave New World Soma, man. You're just always happy, but you don't live a life that's fulfilling because you don't feel like you need to go do
yeah.
hard things or figure shit out. Like, I don't know, Marcos. They might be canceling this episode, bro. They might be sniping us right now. They're like, oh, they figured it out. They figured out our 8 generation plan. Snipe them.
I, you know what, man? But I think, I mean, I wonder, I wonder if I haven't watched any of the new Black Mirror episodes. I wonder if there's one in there about like people just getting super skinny. Ah, shit. Like, but again, too, like, you're right. Like, if you don't have happiness, there's no fulfillment. It's like, why do, again, like, technically, it's like sometimes, are you better off not pushing yourself? Or do you like the fact that you can reach more people if you do push yourself? Right. I actually thought about this when it came to some finances today, because I think it all ties back to that, right? The end goal to live a quality of life is to make the right amount of money so that you can do the things you enjoy most, right? I think that's what we're all trying to do. But nonetheless, I'm sitting there, I'm like, I didn't realize I'm putting out this much money right now for our project, right, Seamus? I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I could just pocket that and probably be okay, right? Like I could pocket this and life would be a little bit easier. But damn it, I would not trade everything we're trying to do for any of that money back in my pocket over the last 12 months.
Yeah, I was thinking about that too. I was thinking about some finances, and it's like, for example, we had to make a finance decisions. The lady and I about like our trip, um,
Mm-hmm.
because we were going to Vegas, and like we have to figure out all this stuff, and it's like, yeah, it's a few $1,000s for like a 5 day trip because we're doing all this different stuff, and we want to like rent a car, and we want to do this thing, and we have this dinner, and we have this like rave night, and it's like you add it all up, and you're like, well, I wouldn't trade that money. I wouldn't want that money back because like the reason I'm doing this is like it's an important trip for me. I'm going to see the people that I love, and I get to hang out with the people I love. We get to experience certain things together, and it's like, uh, yeah, that money's worth that. You know what I'm saying? So
Just like the money could be worth buying the drug, right? You just again, I think what when anything truly decides or wants to become a decision or reality, you listed out the pros and cons. You're like, con is we lose out on quote this money being as part of our savings. The pro is that we get all these enjoyment factors with one another. Network with
yeah,
people, do these things, whatever is on that like pro side. Pros and cons list is like a really strong thing, and again, those decisions are tough. Just like the decision to be a particular way or feel like you're stuck and you don't have a choice at that point, right? I would again, that's where I really just try to now, especially again in utilization of this particular thing, work with it. I don't work against it, right? It's just like AI. I work with it. I don't work against it. How can it make my life a little bit better? Can it give me a landscape of a topic, right?
yeah,
Can this then have us talk about composition of the 1,200 calories somebody does consume? Can you influence things to be the way that you want it to be,
yeah.
right?
And I don't think it has to be all in or nothing. I'm just gonna be honest. Like obesity as a challenge, it is a biopsychosocial challenge. It is
Mm-hmm.
not just the person. It's your environment. You drive back home and forth. You see McDonald's. The kids want it. It's easy to eat. You've worked all day. You're stressed. You could do it. I have nothing against McDonald's. Freaking love the freaking flurry. But then,
Dude, that machine's
okay,
always broken. You're lying. You've never had one.
dude, I double Oreo that. It's once in a while, okay? Then date night with the lady. Date night with the lady. She's like, "You want the McFlurry?" I know. It's actually me that's asking, but but like your environment, dude. Like that's why these companies, like their environment's so powerful, right? Oh, okay, cool. Like at the office, you could do this. You have an office office trip or something like that, and it's like oh, you weren't really educated because you're part of the generation that they didn't teach you this in home economic or nutrition class, or the information is actually overwhelming, so you don't know what decisions to make, so you say screw it, or you're constantly being yo-yoing and doing all this. Why is something like Ozempic, in our day and age, like a lot of people give it a lot of crap, yet a lot of people make really, like, back to like Christina Speckos, like her episodes, like she's like, a lot of people give these like top of the line bodybuilders crap, yet 99% of the population doesn't even do what we do on average, right? It's like, so you kind of have to, like, you play on a little bit of devil's advocate of kind of going like where society is. It's like there's easy access to all this stuff that could potentially, and I'm not playing demonizing, just that could potentially lead to more obesity, environment, education, family stress. Well, there's a solution here. It's just another way to combat it. Yeah, you could go with the personal trainer, you could go with the nutrition coach, you could do Ozempic, you could do, you could do ripping off the fat, right? Doing that, and you could do a bunch of things. Like, there's just options. There's just options now, and I don't want to say one is better than the other. It really comes down to the individual, coming down to the pros and cons, right? But I think it does. I think I would implement some behavior change in there because
Mhm.
not everything is the answer, right? It's always conjunctional. It's like probably one of five things, you know, that make up an actual answer in today's day and age for like weight loss or body composition.
Mm. You know, and kind of ending it there is kind of perfect because as we are going through classes right now, we can talk about it for a quick second, right? Like the motivational interviewing, got to interview yourself. Ask yourself these questions. Ask the ones that are very open-ended. You can look up motivational interview type of questions that are open-ended, with an AI bot. You don't need to listen to us list a few out. But I think, the exercise that I tell people, if you snapped your fingers and got to your goal tomorrow morning when you woke up, what changed? Because they've already recognized one thing. Doing what they're currently doing is insane because it's not going to lead to change. So, again, if it has to be segued or started with something, try to figure out a way to then figure out how there is an exit strategy too. I think it's a really useful exercise. It's just like a dieting phase, right? It's a phase for a reason. We're not really meant to live at a body fat percentage that's 4% year round, right? So it's a phase things. Understand that, right? Hey,
Yeah.
you start at 300 pounds and your goal is 150 and you get there, uh, you know, what then? You got to the goal. What journey is it that you're making, guys?
Yeah.
That's really what we ask our clients all the time. Because once we do get them nutritionally savvy and body composition happy, the next question is like, what's the next step of your journey? You've already accomplished everything here. You don't need me anymore, but you need me in a different way now, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
What's going to make you happy? So, yeah, man. Anything else?
Nah, guys, I hope you guys like that talk. Ozempic, Mounjaro, Wegovy, semaglutide, tirzepatide, all these things are a big craze. We just wanted to just kind of follow up again, just because I think we've been talking about it a lot recently, and it's been making some waves again in the news. So, if you guys like the episode, please comment, like, share, and please share to someone that may be considering the drug and maybe considering the medications. And if you're thinking about them and they're talking to them about it, give this some
Yeah.
that episode. It would be really helpful, and would be super
Send them the
awesome if you guys
episode, then
subscribe
tell
to.
them to
Yeah.
comment on it so that we can reach out to them. We'd be happy to give you information about it because we're dealing with it in the trenches. We'll give you our honest opinion. We'll tell you about the pros and cons head on about you and your specific case. We'll give you a free consult, you or your family member that you feel like needs it, and then how to discuss potential options to actually get you there. That's what we do.
Yeah.
This is our job. We care about
Yeah.
people. We want people to make the most informed decision possible. And again, if you feel stuck, we can unstick you, guaranteed. So
Thanks, guys.
have a good one. See y'all soon.